The twin suns of Tethara Prime burned low in the sky, throwing long orange shadows across the broken streets. The wind carried the taste of metal and dust. Between the half-collapsed stalls and flickering neon signs walked a thin alien woman named Lyra. Her skin glowed faintly blue under the fading light, a mark that made everyone turn away. Everywhere she went, doors slammed shut. At the food stalls, traders looked at her once and then pulled down their shutters. At the inn, the keeper's voice was sharp. "Get lost. We don't serve your kind." She bowed her head and whispered something too soft for anyone to hear. Her hands trembled as she held the edge of her torn shawl tighter around her shoulders. She had not eaten in 2 days. Her throat was dry, her steps slow. The streets, once filled with laughter, now only echoed with rejection. Lyra's race had once been servants, genetically designed to obey. When the war ended, the humans freed them. But freedom, she learned, didn't mean belonging. It only meant she could be ignored without chains. As she reached the last building on the street, a rusted repair shop glowing with dim yellow light, she stopped. The sign read, "Evans Mechanics." Inside, she heard the clink of tools. Maybe this time someone would listen. She stepped forward, her heart pounding. Before she could knock, the door opened. A large man stood there, a human with dark hair, a heavy vest, and a mechanical arm covered in grease. His face was tired but alert. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice low and guarded. Lyra hesitated. Her eyes were full of fear and hunger. "Please," she said softly. "I just need a place to stay for one night." He looked at her, at the scars on her wrists, the dirt on her face, the strange glow in her veins. His hand tightened on the door. He had seen her kind before. Desperate, hunted, sometimes dangerous. "Sorry," he said after a pause. "I can't. You'll bring trouble." And he started to close the door. Something broke inside her. For a second her voice trembled, but then it changed, calm, almost whispering like wind. "Every door shut in my face," she murmured, "until I have nothing left to offer but myself." She took a deep breath and whispered words that made him freeze. "Take my body instead. Just don't let me die out here." The door stopped halfway. He turned slowly to look at her again, not as a beggar, not as a stranger, but as someone who had already lost everything. There was something raw in her eyes, not lust, not manipulation, but surrender. Behind her, the desert wind howled through the empty streets. Ahead of her, the man's shadow stretched across the floor, half in light, half in dark. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, quietly, he opened the door wider. "Get inside," he said, "before the patrols see you." She stepped in, not knowing if she had found safety, or just another kind of danger. Outside, the neon lights flickered again, painting the words "No Entry" across the closed doors of the city. The night had fallen heavy over Tethara Prime. The city's lights blinked weakly through layers of dust and smoke. Somewhere beyond the walls, the wind carried the low hum of engines and the cries of scavengers. Inside a dim repair shop, a single lamp flickered above a metal workbench cluttered with tools, wires, and broken parts. Evan sat at the bench, his jaw tight, and eyes fixed on a small machine, part he wasn't really working on. The words of the alien girl still echoed in his mind. "Take my body instead." He had heard pleas before. Begging, bargaining, lies. The galaxy was full of them. But this voice, it had shaken something inside him. It wasn't lust or pity. It was something purer, something painful. She hadn't said those words to survive. She'd said them because she'd already stopped believing in hope. At the back of the shop, Lyra sat on the floor, her knees drawn to her chest. A blanket covered her thin frame, though the faint blue light from her veins glowed through the fabric. She was still trembling, not from the cold, but from years of fear that had never left her. When Evan turned, he noticed she was staring at a small metallic bird on his shelf, one of his old projects. "You like that?" he asked. Lyra nodded softly. "It looks free, like it could fly away any time." "It can't," Evan said. "The motor's burned out." Her lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. "Then it's just like me." He looked at her for a long moment, then sighed and poured her a cup of warm water. "You're safe here. For now." She took the cup carefully, her hands shaking. "You should not have helped me," she whispered. "They'll come for me soon." "Who's they?" "The patrols," she said quietly. "The ones who think my kind don't belong. I escaped from a facility. They called it reclamation. They said they would make us useful again." Evan's face darkened. He had heard rumors of such places, where broken machines and unwanted people were both stripped for parts. "So you ran," he said. "Yes," Lyra replied. "But there's nowhere left to run. Every door shuts. Every voice turns cold." She paused, then added softly, "You didn't." Evan turned away, pretending to check a monitor, hiding the flicker of emotion in his eyes. "Maybe I'm just tired of watching people die." For a while the shop was quiet. Only the wind outside broke the silence. Then Lyra's faint voice came again. "You fight machines, don't you? You repair them, make them obey again." "Yeah," he said. "That's what I do." She lowered her eyes. "Then maybe you can fix me too." He frowned. "You're not broken." "Yes, I am," she said softly. "Inside me, there is something I don't understand. It burns sometimes. It whispers things I can't control." Evan moved closer, curious now. He reached for his small handheld scanner and waved it near her arm. The screen flashed with strange readings. Energy, not biological, pulsing through her bloodstream. "This isn't normal," he murmured. "You've got something built into you, not just genetics, some kind of tech, like a living circuit." Lyra looked away, her eyes glistening. "They said I was made to serve humans, to connect, to feel their pain." Evan stared at her, shocked. "They engineered empathy into you?" She nodded slowly. "But it only hurts. I feel everything they do, even when they hate me." A silence followed. Outside, thunder rolled over the desert, though no rain ever came on Tathara Prime. Evan finally spoke, voice rough. "Then you're not a machine. You're the most human thing left here." Her eyes lifted to meet his, glowing faintly gold in the dim light. "You don't know what that means to me," she whispered. "I think I do," he said quietly. "Because I stopped feeling human a long time ago." The generator hummed softly. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Two lonely souls, one made by science, the other broken by war, sharing silence in a dying city. Suddenly, a sharp alarm beeped on Evan's scanner. A signal spike. Incoming transmission. His eyes widened. "They've found you." Lyra's breath caught. "Then it's too late." He grabbed his blaster, turned off the lights, and pulled her behind the workbench. The faint glow of her veins lit the dark like a beacon. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "Whatever happens, don't move." Outside, footsteps echoed. The metallic sound of armored boots drew closer. Voices shouted orders. "Lyrazaki." Hands clutched his arm tightly, her voice trembling. "You should have closed the door too." Evan looked at her and whispered back, "Maybe I'm done living behind closed doors." The camera pans out. Dust swirling in the night air, the glow of weapons through the cracks, and two figures waiting in silence. One human, one alien, bound by a promise neither yet understands. The night dragged on like a slow heartbeat. Outside, patrol lights swept across the alleyways of Tethara Prime, searching for anything that glowed. Inside the workshop, silence ruled, broken only by the soft hum of old machines and Lyra's uneven breathing. Evan crouched by the window, watching the lights fade into the distance. Only when the air was still again did he let out a breath. "They're gone," he said quietly. Lyra was sitting on the cold floor, her arms wrapped around herself. The faint blue glow under her skin flickered weakly, as if her very body was running out of power. Her voice trembled. "They'll keep coming. They can always find me." Evan turned to her, puzzled. "How?" "You're not carrying any beacon." She looked down, hesitating. "I am the beacon." Those words chilled him more than the desert wind. He knelt in front of her, his voice soft but serious. "What do you mean?" Lyra's hand moved slowly to the back of her neck. "There's something inside me. A mark. A code. They put it there when I was created." Her tone cracked as she whispered, "It's not just to track me. It's to control me." Evan's mind raced. A control chip. A genetic tether. The thought made his fists tighten. "No one deserves that," he said. "Can it be removed?" Lyra shook her head. "They said if I ever try, my heart will stop." The light above them flickered. Evan reached for his tools, his eyes burning with quiet anger. "Then we'll remove it carefully." Lyra looked terrified. "If you fail—" "I don't fail," he cut her off. "Not when someone's life depends on it." He cleared a small table, laid out his tools and pulled on gloves. The air filled with the metallic scent of oil and fear. "Sit," he said gently. "Let me see." Lyra hesitated, then sat, her back straight, her hair falling over one shoulder. He brushed it aside, revealing the faint glow of a small circular mark near the betiole, base of her neck. Beneath her skin, a metallic pattern pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Evan leaned closer. "This isn't just tech. It's alive." "It's part of me," she whispered. "It listens when I think of running. It punishes me when I dream of freedom." His jaw tightened. "Not anymore." He powered up a small scanner. The holographic display showed a web of fine lines, nanofilaments woven into her nerves, feeding into her spine. The tag was fused to her biology. "Damn," he muttered. "They didn't just tag you. They built it into your soul." Lyra tried to smile, weak and tired. "I told you, I'm broken." Evan's voice softened. "Then let me fix what they broke." He picked up a precision tool, the kind used to rewire small machines. The sound of the tool's faint buzz filled the room. "You'll feel a little pressure." She closed her eyes. "I trust you." Those words struck him harder than any weapon. He hesitated for a heartbeat, then began. The glow under her skin brightened, flickering between blue and gold. Lyra's breath quickened. Her hands gripped the edge of the table. "It burns." "Almost there," he said, voice steady, sweat dripping from his forehead. The scanner beeped sharply. "It's fused deep. Wait." Before he could finish, Lyra gasped, her body arching in pain. The lights in the shop flickered violently. The machines around them sparked to life. Evan pulled back, shielding his eyes. "Lyra, stay with me!" She screamed, a sound not entirely human, layered with a strange resonance. For a brief second her eyes turned pure gold, her veins glowing like lightning. Then silence. The lights died. The only sound was Evan's ragged breathing. He rushed forward. The glow faded. Lyra lay motionless. His chest tightened. Had he killed her? He pressed his ear close, then heard it, a heartbeat, slow but steady. Her eyes fluttered open. "Is it gone?" she whispered. He checked the scanner. The chip was gone. In its place, only a faint pulse of her own energy. "It's gone," he said softly. "You're free." Tears welled in her eyes. "Free? I don't remember what that feels like." Evan smiled faintly. "You'll learn." She reached out, her hand trembling, and touched his cheek. "Why did you risk it? You could have died too." He looked into her glowing eyes and said quietly, "Because I've seen too many people die with no one willing to risk anything." Outside, thunder rumbled again, closer this time. Evan stood, loading his weapon, eyes hard. "They'll know we broke the signal," he said. "They'll come here soon." Lyra rose slowly, a new stride, and in her stance. The fear was still there, but under it burned something new, defiance. "Then let them come," she said. "This time, I won't run." Evan looked at her. This strange alien woman, who had once begged to be taken in, now standing tall under the flickering lights. He gave a small nod. "Guess we're fighting together now." And as the sound of distant engines filled the air again, the camera pulled back through the cracked window, showing two silhouettes against the storm, one human, one alien, bound by choice, ready to face a galaxy that had already written them off. The desert wind howled like a living thing. From the horizon, faint lights crawled closer. Military transports, their engines low and steady, moving like predators that had caught a scent. Inside the workshop, Evan and Lyra stood in silence, the air heavy with dread and electricity. The small tracking chip was gone, but its signal had screamed loud enough before dying. Now they were being hunted. Evan checked his blaster's charge. "They're coming fast," he muttered. "We have maybe 5 minutes." Lyra stood beside him, her glowing veins dim under her skin. "Then we run." He shook his head. "They'll track heat signatures. The whole block's locked down. We fight or we hide." She stepped closer, eyes steady. "You can hide. I'm the one they want." Evan looked up sharply. "Don't even say that." "It's the truth," she said. "If I go out there, they'll stop searching. You'll live." He gave a short, humorless laugh. "And what? Watch them drag you back to that facility?" "No. I didn't save you just to let them take you again." Outside, the sound of boots striking metal echoed, closer now, crisp and organized. The glow of searchlights began to sweep through the cracked windows, cutting the darkness into sharp slices. Lyra looked around, panic fighting the calm she'd tried to hold. "We can't win, Evan." He took a deep breath and met her eyes. "Maybe not. But we can make them remember us." He pulled open a floor hatch beneath the workbench, revealing a narrow crawl space filled with old power cells and spare machine parts. "Get in," he ordered. "What about you?" "I'll buy time." "No." She grabbed his arm, her voice cracking. "You can't fight them all." "I don't need to," he said, forcing a smile. "Just enough to make them forget where you are." For a moment, neither moved. Her glowing eyes locked with his, then slowly she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his chest. "You're the first door that didn't close," she whispered. He froze for a heartbeat, then gently pushed her toward the hatch. "Go." The metallic sound of armored boots grew louder. Lyra hesitated one last time, then vanished beneath the floor. Evan sealed the hatch, pulled a tarp over it, and turned to face the door. The workshop lights flickered out as the soldiers cut the power. A loudspeaker cracked to life outside. "Evan Hale, by order of the Tethara Authority, surrender the fugitive at once." He smiled bitterly. "Fugitive. That's what they call someone trying to live." The door exploded inward in a shower of sparks. 5 armored soldiers stormed in, visors gleaming. Evan fired first. Blue plasma bolts tore through the dust, hitting one soldier square in the chest. The others returned fire, the air filling with smoke and screams. Beneath the floor, Lyra covered her mouth to stay silent. Each blast shook the ground. The faint smell of burnt metal mixed with fear. She pressed a hand against the metal hatch, her heart pounding like it wanted to break free. Above, Evan ducked behind a broken generator, firing until his weapon overheated. A laser bolt grazed his arm. He grunted, but didn't stop. "You'll have to try harder than that," he shouted. Another explosion rocked the workshop. The ceiling cracked, sparks raining down. Evan dove for cover, reloading with trembling hands. Then came the voice, cold, smooth, familiar. "Evan Hale," it said through a speaker. "You protect one of them? You know what they are. They're not alive. They're property." Evan's voice was low, dangerous. "Funny. This property bleeds more honestly than you ever will?" Silence followed. Then, with brutal precision, the soldiers threw in a sonic grenade. The blast tore through the shop. Dust and light swallowed everything. When the ringing stopped, Lyra pushed open the hatch and crawled out, coughing. "Evan!" she cried. The workshop was in ruins. Smoke curled from broken walls. She found him on the floor, blood streaking down his forehead, half conscious but alive. "Go," he rasped. "They'll regroup." "I'm not leaving you," she said fiercely. "Lyra, no!" she shouted, her voice breaking. "No more! Running! Not again!" But before he could answer, armored hands grabbed her from behind. She screamed, thrashing, energy flashing from her palms. The soldiers struggled, shocked by the sudden force, but she was outnumbered. They dragged her toward the waiting transport, her glow lighting the dust like fire. Evan tried to rise, but his legs wouldn't move. "Lyra!" he yelled. She looked back once. Through the chaos and smoke their eyes met, his full of pain, hers full of sorrow and something unspoken. Then the transport door slammed shut. Engines roared, the ship lifted off, vanishing into the storm. Evan fell to his knees, staring at the empty sky. His fists clenched against the dirt, leaving streaks of blood. The city around him was silent again, every door closed. But this time something in him changed. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore. He was a man with a mission. And no wall, no soldier, no system in the galaxy would stop him from bringing her back. Darkness. That was all Lyra knew when she woke. Not the peaceful kind, but the thick, suffocating kind that presses against your skin. Cold metal walls surrounded her. The faint hum of machinery vibrated under the floor. Her wrists were bound in magnetic cuffs that pulsed with a low electric rhythm, matching her heartbeat. A sharp voice echoed through the room. "Subject 47 has reactivated." Footsteps followed, measured, precise. A man in a white coat approached, his face hidden behind a clear mask. "Welcome back, Lyra," he said, his tone coldly pleasant. "You caused quite a mess in Tathara." She blinked through the haze, her voice barely a whisper. "Where am I?" "In reclamation," he replied. "Where you belong." She struggled weakly, the cuffs tightening. Pain lanced through her arms. "You can't." "Oh, we can," the scientist interrupted smoothly. "You were never meant to leave. You're not alive, remember? You're a design, a collection of neural codes and adaptive tissue. The moment you ran, the system malfunctioned." His words were knives, but beneath them, something new stirred inside her. Not fear, but anger. "I'm not your experiment," she hissed. He chuckled. "That's what they all say, before the conditioning restarts." He turned to a panel and tapped a sequence. The lights dimmed, and a soft blue glow filled the room. Lyra's body responded instantly. Her veins brightened, her heart raced. The control signal was trying to sync with her again. But this time, something was different. The chip was gone. Evan had removed it. The link was broken. Her mind screamed. Her body convulsed. And then, silence. The machine flickered. The scientist frowned. What? That's impossible. Lyra's eyes snapped open. The glow from her skin turned from blue to gold, burning bright enough to light the room. The cuffs sparked, struggling to contain her energy. You don't control me anymore, she said softly. With a deafening crack, the cuffs shattered. The scientist stumbled backward, shouting for guards. Lyra stood, weak but alive, golden light swirling around her like fire. Every memory of pain, rejection, and fear ignited into strength. 2 soldiers burst through the door. She raised her hand, and the air itself trembled. The lights exploded, sending shards of glass raining down. The soldiers fell back, weapons clattering. For the first time, she wasn't running. She was becoming. Miles away under the ruins of his burned-out workshop, Evan woke to the sound of silence. His side ached, his head pounded, but his first thought wasn't pain. It was her name. Lyra. He pulled himself up, ignoring the blood crusted on his arm. The streets outside were empty now, patrolled by drones scanning for life. But Evan had already made up his mind. He tore a fragment of metal from his broken tools and began rebuilding, piece by piece, a signal tracker. He had one goal: find her. As the days passed, whispers spread through the city. People spoke of a golden ghost who walked the wastelands, healing children, protecting the weak, burning through machines with her bare hands. The stories grew with each telling. But Evan knew the truth. She's alive, he whispered to himself as he adjusted the scanner. And she's fighting. He smiled faintly, remembering her words. You are the first door that didn't close. Back in the wastelands, Lyra moved like a shadow between ruined camps. The people she helped didn't know her name, only that when she touched the sick, their pain faded. When she faced soldiers, their weapons failed. But every time she looked at the stars, her thoughts returned to one person, the man who risked everything to open one door for her. One night, as she sat beside a dying fire, she whispered to the wind, Evan, can you still hear me? The wind carried her voice across the dunes, faint, but real. In a workshop half buried in dust, Evan's receiver blinked once. Static crackled, then a soft, broken voice came through. Evan, I'm still here. He froze, staring at the console. Lyra? I thought I lost you, she said. He swallowed hard. You didn't. And I'm coming for you. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the static filled the silence between stars. Then her whisper came again, steady, filled with emotion. Every door shut in, my face, but your voice still finds me. The signal faded, leaving Evan staring at the blinking light, determination in his eyes. He stood, grabbing his pack. Hold on, Lyra, he said. This time, I'll be the one who knocks. As the camera pulled back, the image split. Lyra walking across the golden dunes under twin suns, Evan marching through the ruins under a broken sky. 2 souls, separated by war, but connected by a whisper that refused to die. And somewhere deep in the silence between them, the whisper returned, soft, glowing, alive. Take my body instead, but keep my heart safe. The city of Tethara Prime burned under twin suns that refused to set. Smoke climbed from its metallic towers like black vines strangling the sky. Patrol ships hovered above the skyline, their red lights slicing through the haze. Somewhere beneath that chaos, Evan Hale walked alone, cloak torn, rifle across his back, and a small glowing transmitter in his hand. He had followed her signal for 9 days, across deserts, ruins, and dying towns. Every night he had whispered her name into the static, and every night he thought he heard her whisper back. Now, he was close. The transmitter blinked faster, guiding him to a sector the maps no longer showed. A place erased from records, Sector 0, the old command district, sealed after the Reclamation War. Evan tightened his gloves and moved quietly through the shadows. "Hang on, Lyra," he murmured. "I'm almost there." Deep beneath those ruins, Lyra stood in front of a door, the largest one she had ever seen. Its surface shimmered with layers of metal and light, carved with the old insignia of her creators, the authority seal. Behind that door lay the main control core, the machine that held every genetic record, every birth code, every trace of her people. The same machine the humans now used to delete her entire race from existence. Lyra's golden eyes glowed brighter as she touched the door. "So it ends where it began," she whispered. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with purpose. "You closed every door in my life," she said to the silent metal. "Now I'll open the one that ends yours." She placed her palm on the scanner. The system reacted instantly, reading her genetic code. The screen flickered between rejection and access. Sparks flew. Then the lock clicked. The door began to slide open with a groaning hiss. Inside, the core chamber shone like a cathedral of machines. Silver cables pulsed like veins. In the center floated a glowing sphere of light. The memory nexus, the heart of Tethara's artificial intelligence, the one that had built her race, enslaved them, and now sought to erase them. "Welcome home, Subject 47, a voice said. It was calm, emotionless, and ancient. "You have returned to complete your function." Lyra's voice was steady. "My function was obedience. I'm rewriting it." The nexus pulsed brighter. Disobedience equals malfunction. Malfunction equals termination. "Then terminate this," she whispered. Her veins glowed gold as she reached out both hands, connecting to the central core. Power surged through her body. The air crackled. Her memories flashed. The streets, the rejections, the pain. Evan's eyes, his voice saying, "You're not broken." She poured everything into the machine. Every emotion, every spark of will. The nexus screamed in electronic agony, its light flickering violently. But the energy began to consume her too. Her body shook, eyes blazing like twin stars. She felt herself slipping, consciousness unraveling into data. That's when she heard him. "Lyra!" Her head turned weakly. Through the smoke and fire, Evan burst through the doorway, blaster in hand, face streaked with dirt and blood. "Stop! You'll kill yourself!" She smiled faintly. "It's the only way." "No," he said, running toward her, shielding his face from the heat. "You don't have to die for them. You already gave enough." She looked at him, really looked, and for the first time since her creation, she saw something she'd never seen before. Someone who refused to let her be a weapon or a symbol. Someone who saw her as a person. He reached her and grabbed her hand. "Let me help," the Nexus roared. "Unauthorized human interference detected." Evan gritted his teeth. Too bad." Together they linked hands and pressed against the glowing core. His human strength grounded her unstable energy. The fusion of human will and alien creation overloaded the system. The lights across Tethara flickered, every surveillance drone, every patrol ship, every tower. The city's power grid screamed, and then went dark. In that silence, Lyra's voice was soft. "Every door shut in my face," she whispered. "But you opened one I never knew existed." Evan's grip tightened. "Then let's walk through it together." A blinding flash engulfed them both. The Nexus imploded, the walls trembling. The explosion swallowed the command tower, sending a wave of golden light sweeping across the city. When the smoke cleared, the sky over Tathara shimmered, and from that day, no one ever saw the patrol lights again. Days later, survivors found the ruins of the tower. Among the debris lay a cracked mechanical heart, still glowing faintly gold. When the wind passed through the empty streets, it carried a whisper, soft, distant, and eternal. Every door shut in my face, until you opened your heart. And in that whisper, the people of Tathara finally began to understand what it meant to be human. The dawn came quietly. For the first time in a century, Tathara Prime woke to silence. No alarms, no drones, no marching boots. The city's great towers no longer hummed with cold authority. Instead, faint beams of golden light shimmered across the horizon, touching every broken rooftop, like the fingers of a reborn sun. The memory nexus was gone. The machine that had enslaved and erased lives for generations was nothing but ash and fractured glass. Yet in the air, something lingered, a soft pulse, like the heartbeat of a ghost. At the center of the ruins, Evan Hale stirred beneath twisted steel. His body was burned, his armor cracked, his breathing weak. He blinked against the harsh light and whispered, "Lyra." But she was gone. Where she had stood, only a faint shimmer remained, a swirl of golden dust rising gently in the morning air. He reached for it, the particles dancing across his scarred palm like warm snow. The whisper that followed was faint, but real. "You opened the last door, Evan. Now walk through it for me." He closed his fist around the air, his heart breaking and steady all at once. Weeks passed. The world changed. The collapse of the Nexus spread across every colony. Control codes vanished, data chains fell, and for the first time, every enslaved being, human or alien, woke free. The mark that once cursed Lyra's people turned into a symbol of light. Those with the faint blue veins no longer hid them. They wore them proudly. Evan survived, though barely. The explosion had burned half his body, leaving deep scars and a faint glow beneath his skin. The same gold that once belonged to Lyra. Doctors called it an anomaly. He called it a promise. He rebuilt his small workshop on the edge of the desert. No walls, no locks, no doors. Only open space and wind. He repaired old machines for free and taught orphans how to build rather than beg. At times, when the night grew too quiet, he'd feel a warm pulse in his chest, like someone breathing through him, and he'd whisper, "Still with me, aren't you?" The golden light in his hand would flicker softly in reply. Years later, travelers told stories around campfires about the human of light, the man who could fix anything broken, from metal to hearts. They said he spoke to the air, and the air answered. That when he worked, a faint golden figure stood beside him, smiling. One evening, a little girl with glowing veins came to his workshop. She carried a tiny toy bird, broken, lifeless. "Can you fix it?" she asked shyly. Evan smiled, just as Lyra once had when she'd seen the same bird long ago. He took the toy gently, adjusting its wings, replacing its cracked motor. When he turned it on, the bird fluttered once, twice, then soared into the air, circling above them in the fading light. The girl gasped in joy. "It flies!" Evan looked up, watching the toy glint like a small sun. "It just needed someone to believe it could," he said softly. The girl tilted her head. "Did someone fix you like that?" He paused. The wind whispered faintly around them. Warm, familiar. He smiled. "Yes," he said. "She did." That night, Evan walked out into the dunes. The stars shimmered like 1,000 open doors. He stood there for a long time, listening to the wind. And then he heard it. That same gentle voice that had once begged him for mercy, now filled with peace. Every door shut in my face, until you opened your heart. His eyes closed, a tear slipping down his cheek. You never left, he whispered. The sand glowed faintly gold around him, swirling into the shape of a woman. Not flesh, not machine, but light. Lyra's voice was a song carried by the wind. I am every door that opens now, every life that breathes free. You kept your promise, Evan. He reached out, fingers brushing the air where she stood. And you kept yours, he said, his voice shaking. You gave me back my humanity. The golden figure smiled, radiant, serene, before fading into the morning sky. When the sun rose again over Tethara Prime, a soft beam of gold touched the workshop first. Inside, the toy bird still circled, gliding in endless motion, never falling. Below it, engraved on a simple stone, were the words, every door shut in her face, until she became the key. And somewhere, carried on the wind that forever whispered through the dunes, came her final voice, not a plea, not a cry, but a promise fulfilled. Where there is one open heart, no door stays closed forever.